Information to help you run your business better and improve your marketing campaigns. My name is Hank Hoffmeyer, and thank you for joining me on Hank's Marketing and Business Tips. Welcome to episode 298 of the HMBT podcast. Today, I'm with someone that's very passionate about email marketing and customers. She also happens to be the Director of Strategy and Analytics at Shaw Scott, a digital marketing agency. Her name is Tricia Babinskin, and I'm here with her today to talk about email marketing. I'm so glad you can join me today.
I am so excited to talk to you. You know, every time you've had a chance to talk to you, I'm like, yes.
We met at a conference and then met at a few other conferences. I've been to a few of your talks where you talk about getting the most from your email list using segmentation, automation, whatever that is. And I think that would be a great discussion to have today. You know, I talk about list hygiene all the time. I do talk about segmentation and targeting, but I think that you're so smart in this area that we can really dive in and get some nuggets around, hey, what do I need to do? I hear I need to do these things, or it sounds daunting to do these things, but what are some real life situations and scenarios where I can get the most out of my email list? If I had to ask you that question bluntly, if I came up to you on the street and I heard you're the best person to talk to about email marketing and lists, what would you say? What is the biggest thing I need to do with my email marketing lists?
Well, I mean, I think the most obvious first answer is you have a big pool of people, and if you treat them all the same, you might as well be standing on the corner with a bullhorn. You have people that all have distinct, and you can subgroup them, but they all have distinct needs, and they're all at different places in their life cycles. So the minute you wrap your head around, I have X number of people, and they're all in different spots. How do I talk to each of them where they are? It starts fundamentally changing how you're going to put your list together for how you're going to then send it out. And obviously, we can't have this conversation until we start and rip the Band-Aid off. Deliverability. I mean, seriously. And I think that's probably the hardest conversation people have in their companies is we have C-suites that don't understand what this magic deliverability thing is. They believe a delivered rate is deliverability, and those don't mean the same thing. And they've bought into this idea that the email dollars per email is this uber metric. I mean, if I make 5 cents per email of every email I send, it costs me less than a penny to send. ROI is amazing. Send more email. And I hear all the send more email people. I get it. But that's assuming that your list acts the same, that Joe Smith at this end of the list that's hyper engaged and opens everything that you send and buys regularly is the same value to you as Mary Jane at the other end of your list that signed up for your email for the 15% off and has never engaged again. And they're not worth the same. So send more email is really should be with the giant asterisk that says send more email to the people that want it.
Right.
So that's my first big thing is start by figuring out how everybody breaks down and where they are in their life cycle, and then take an absolute hatchet to the back end of your list that's not engaged. Reach out to them other ways. And I don't mean like never talk to them again. They're not shunned. This isn't middle school.
Right.
But go after them differently. We're talking about CRM marketing. They could be text people. They could be DM people. They could be all sorts of direct ad people. All of those types of things. They're not email people. Be okay with it. They're not your people. And then take the rest of it. And now we get to the meaty fun part of using your data to figure out where are they? What are they doing? And that's the exciting part. But you really got to rip that Band-Aid off because not everybody in your list is worth a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, everybody looks at that ROI number. It's just like everything you've just been saying. I think like people end up developing these blinders. They don't put them on purpose. Like the deliverability thing. People think that they sign up for HubSpot, MailChimp, whatever. They're going to go in and they're going to just start sending emails, and magically people get them. They open them, they click, they convert, right? And you know, you look at a list and be like, oh, this is just a list of people that are going to get my email and they're going to love it, like you said. But maybe email's not for everyone. I have a talk coming up at the State of Search in Dallas about multi-channel marketing, and it's exactly like you said. Maybe send an email, wait 3 days, and if they didn't open and or click, and depending on how you want to measure that, send them a text message if you have them opted into text messaging, and then if you see that they engage with that more over time, you'll switch more to that. And I think people just either don't have time or the knowledge to look at the different signals and data points. And that's why we're here today, because you're so smart with this. So let's get into the weeds a little bit. Well, the deliverability thing, I think I've killed that on this podcast,
I'm
talking about
sure you
setting up
have.
authentication, which is SPF, DKIM, DMARC. Go Google it if you need to. That we can spend probably 3 episodes on that, right? Just to how to set that up. But look at that and just make sure that you're fully authenticated so that your emails are trusted by the email providers and getting into the inbox. But let's talk about what are some quick wins, and or if you're a larger company, what are some things maybe I haven't thought about if I'm looking to send campaigns and look at my data more effectively. We had a great conversation looking at data. I think it was at Inbox Expo in Austin, right? And just some of the rich gold nuggets that you can pull out. What data should we collect, and how can we collect that? I think that's an awesome question.
Oh, okay. So first party data is king, right? Anything our customers are going to give us about themselves, and shockingly, people are willing to give you information about themselves. And I don't mean preference centers. I am one of those email marketers out there, and I've been in this industry for a long time. I've worked for a lot of agencies. I've recommended preference centers. We've sold preference centers. I am the biggest anti-preference center girl that you will meet because I don't believe that they are accurate. I believe people will give you aspirational information or what they think you want to hear. It's like focus groups. They want to give you what they think you want to hear instead of, or what they would like to be.
Mm.
I look at my closet. This is my great analogy. I look at my closet. There's a lot of clothes in my closet that are aspirational me. Those are my preference center clothes. The jeans and t-shirts that I wear every day, that's me. And so when I think about the data that we should collect, we need to be thinking about the data that they're giving us that's them. And that's, what are they doing on your site? First party data that's a gold mine of information. What are they searching for? Where are they going? How long do they spend? When do they spend time on your site? How often do they come back? I mean, all of these things are little nuggets. What do they buy? I mean, we know all of those things, but everybody thinks about, oh, well, they bought this. But have you thought about, if they buy this, what should they buy next? Have you thought about what they should buy third? What about, have you thought about now pulling those up forward and saying, when they put that item in the cart, pulling it forward and encouraging that second item in the first purchase?
Hmm.
I've got data that says if you get two items, if you're a D2C brand, if you get two items in that first purchase, and it goes without saying, you'll have longer life, you'll have a higher lifetime value because the order's bigger. I mean, that's a dumb moment, but they also stay in your list longer. They stay in your customer pool longer. They will have higher lifetime value, not just because that first order is bigger, but because they buy more over time. And that's exciting. So, like, you're leveraging data in a lot of different ways. And that's beyond just the email side of segmentation. That's in the moment. So those nuggets, those landmine nuggets, what are they doing on your site? Where do they come from? What is the source? I talk to way too many people that don't append source in their data when they acquire a customer. And I always ask the question, so how did you know that campaign worked?
Hmm.
And they're like, oh, but our revenue went up. Well,
We send an email and our revenue goes up.
that's correlation, not causation, because you don't have source. And I did this beautiful project for a very large CPG brand that does a lot of acquisition work. And I mapped to their longevity in their email program and said, from your sources, how long do they stay in the email program? And then we took that data and we went back to the paid marketing people because they live in their own silo and turned around and said, okay, these five sources that you spend a lot of money on, we lose them 3 months later. But these 17 sources that you're not pushing hard enough on, we keep them for 2 years.
So you're saying, look at a source. Let's say it's driving people back to your site from LinkedIn, and they sign up for an email newsletter or an email campaign, and they tend to be the folks that give you a good ROI or good engagement. That you should double down on that, is what you're saying.
Exactly. I worked for a D2C brand that was in the beauty industry. Their target demographic was, let's go with above 50, and they were doing TikTok ads. Now, I'm not opposed to TikTok ads for above 50-year-olds, but over time, when you've made no money on TikTok ads, maybe that's not targeting your target demographic.
Right.
So if you don't connect back to the source and say, are these people that you're paying really good money for valuable in your long term? And that's an old school marketing lookalike model. Like we learned that in marketing 101. Find your best customers, find more of them.
Yes, definitely. I want to go back to the preference center. You threw some
Oh,
shade at the preference center, and I
yeah, I do
understand
throw shade
why.
at the representative.
So let me ask you this, especially for like somebody maybe who's a brick and mortar, maybe you do pop-up shops, you have locations, et cetera, or you need more data that's outside what you can collect. Like location information, sometimes we know if somebody's using a VPN or something that's not correct. What are your feelings on non-incentivized surveys where we know humans want to be helpful and we
Mhm.
specifically say in an email or wherever, hey, we'd like to get to know more about you so we can provide you with the best possible emails in the world, et cetera, et cetera. Can you answer 5 quick questions or whatever it is and say, where are you located? What's your favorite color or something like that? Do you think that that is still worth doing?
I do think there's a lot of value in that. I think you need to find yourself an amazing copywriter, so that it is done well, because you don't want it to be cold. One of the best campaigns I ever did was I wanted to establish a birthday email. And I'm like, we don't have birthday. I want birthday. I just want birthday. How am I going to get birthday? So we sent out a regular campaign that said, we'd like to give you a gift on your birthday. Could you tell us when your birthday is?
Yes, take my money, take my email, take my birthday. Yep, that's all
Take
day long for
a
me.
birthday all day long. It was, I mean, well engaged. We got birthday data like nobody's business. And now I had a birthday program. I mean, it was one of those, we call them teeth brushing moments in my house. It's one of those aha moments when you're doing something else. It was a teeth brushing moment. I'm like,
Yeah.
what if I just asked them for it? And
Yeah.
then you could do other things. I'm a huge believer, not preference centers. I'm a huge believer in progressive profiling. Things that we can embed in emails that, depending on how they react to them, we append their customer file. I had a book business that I wanted to know what types of books you read because I got a sneaky theory that the nonfiction history reader is a little different than the romance reader. Just a theory. I'd like to prove that out. So, what did we do? We did a whole series of emails like, what genre of book are you? And it had like 4 choices. All the links took you to the main page of that genre. And we gave them like quirky little things like, oh, you like science fiction, you like these things, or it was quirky and fun. It was well read, it was well engaged with, and we start over time building that file, and it becomes progressive profiling. So then the next time when I send it to that science fiction person, then I ask the question of, well, are you into like uh, space or are you into like tech?
Mm.
And, like, how do we double down in those genres? That's progressive profiling. That I think is amazing. And again, good copywriter. You need an amazing copywriter to be able to suss out how to do that in the right way. It's
Mm.
not a form letter that says, what 5 things are you into? And
Yeah, you have to make it fun and engaging and interesting, and then I
on
think people
brand.
will engage. Yeah, gamify it if you have to.
Mhm.
But
But it
now
does
let's
need to be
let's just
on
say you're
brand.
smart enough to know that okay, that's cool. I want to do that. How do you store and use that data?
So in most ESP platforms, or if you've got a CDP, if you're advanced enough to have those, you can create sort of these personalized fields, custom fields that I append. I do that piece. Now, this is where I own my tech limitations. I'm a strategist. I think about how, what can we do? The how I hand off to the much smarter technical people. But I have yet to have one of them come back to me and say, we're going to need to store that in an Excel spreadsheet. They don't need to do that. There's some way that they can store it to the customer record, and then pull it back in. However, so all of your major ESPs have some form of extension to the customer record
Right.
beyond the 7 basic fields, and that's the way I think it works the best because it's telling me like I start to flesh out a picture of who is Hank, what is special about you. And then when I go to send my email, I go, give me all the people that are like Hank. And they have all of these connections. And then now I've got a small curated segment that I can talk to directly. And that I think is where real power comes from in good segmentation.
And you just gave me a great idea. I thought of it on the fly while you were talking because obviously, if you're a larger company, you have these tools, right? And maybe you can figure out how to use like Zapier and all that, but really, you can use Gemini or ChatGPT, take all your clicks. Usually, like say for my contact, which is who I used to work for, they would just give you the link of what was clicked. And then what you can say is, please filter out anyone that has this link in this column and put in romance or yes if it was like the romance link right in there, and then they can export that, upload that, and update the custom field with that. That would be an easy way for a smaller business that doesn't have the right tools that could still put in the information and then retarget or target them based on romance, like you mentioned for books. I think that that might be an option. And if anybody ever needs to talk about it, I'm sure you and both myself would happily have a conversation with somebody about, okay, I heard you say use ChatGPT, and this is how you do it, but it still went whoosh over my head. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'm really getting excited about some uses of AI in this world. Not your example is completely a valid and great one, and one that, depending on your company's cybersecurity requirements, and
Hmm.
I should mention, do not upload your list to ChatGPT unless you are in a private thing. I'm obligated to say that,
Yes.
but there are some really cool things that you can do with the AI tools that are now available. Another one of my favorite segmentations, and if you have not started playing with it, play with it. If you've got it available in your ESP, and it's hooked up to your back end uh, shipping system, your sales system, whatever that process is, find the prediction for buying in the next 30 days or whatever your cycle is. So it might be, if you have
Hmm.
a long lead cycle, it might be 60 days, it might be 180 days, but find purchase prediction models. Those models are getting super powerful. And
Hmm.
I'm seeing a lot of results in like making sure that that group is appended to my daily send. Just making sure that we don't miss the right people because I mean that's the goal. But
Right.
using that, and that's a great use of AI, and it's starting to be embedded in a lot of the ESPs now.
Yeah.
Um, I find that one to work a little bit more than some of the churn models. I think they're still working on making those better.
Right.
But
And to
there
go
are
back really quick, you
sure.
some platforms offer a subscriber ID, which you can use in lieu of an email address, or you can use Excel to say assign a random number to all of these email addresses and use that if you don't want to or have a private AI cloud. But and then like HubSpot's got some cool AI stuff working in, especially for like reporting. The first time I used it, I was like, develop me a report of customers that came in through this source yesterday. And it only gave me one column and it was like the source, and it didn't even give me the people. And I was like, okay, it's not working. And then a couple days later, I did a more sophisticated report and it did it beautifully. Yeah. AI is not perfect, but if you use it right and you know what to look for, it can be beautiful.
Right. And I think that there's almost that part of me that says write all the prompts twice and see what and compare the differences. Just because it does give you different things depending on, well, I've given it the same prompt and gotten two different results.
Yeah.
So it is not perfect, but neither are we as humans. And so I think that there is a value to saying, let's try it a couple of different ways and validate. Um, but it does have a very powerful tool in there. Um, I I will say, yes, you can anonymize the data. Yes, you can do that. Um, I am very close to somebody that runs some cybersecurity programs. I will tell you, still check with your organization's rules
Yes.
because sadly, I do have a very sad story of a gentleman who was let go, not because he invaded, he did all the anonymization pieces, but their policy is written that you cannot upload anything to
Yes.
ChatGPT. So make sure you're following those rules. I just don't want to see anybody listen to this and go, but Hank said you could anonymize the data and I'm okay. Don't.
Well, I haven't played around too. Maybe the rules are a little bit more relaxed with like Google Sheets, right? Because now there's like a lot of tools in there. Maybe that connection. I need to go look at that after the show. I'm going to go look at that. Can I do something similar in Sheets so I don't even have to use Chat GPT? And if that's possible, that'd be another option. If your company says, "Hey, yeah, well, we use spreadsheets all day long to analyze data, and customer data is in there, et cetera, and it can do it," then that's wonderful.
I mean, depending on how many links you've downloaded from some of these smaller ESPs, you could do that concept in Excel on-prem and be completely safe. And I do deal with some fintechs, so I have that hyper security piece of my world.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm glad
but
you're putting me in check because it is important to mention that because sometimes I forget some of the audience members that might be listening to this, right? And Excel, and you can even just do this in Excel or Sheets, right? You could say if this column equals this, then this column equals that. So you don't even need ChatGPT really.
you don't. Now it will be a lot easier. I will put a tiny plug. I'm not sponsored by them or paid by them, but there is an AI out there called Claude AI
Yes.
that I think has some phenomenal data tools in it. I've been using that lately to summarize data. And if you need some summarization tools, I believe theirs is very segregated also. But again, always looking for
Yes.
great opportunities to use good AI.
Yes. All right. This has been great so far. I think we're telling people a lot of information that's going to be helpful, and especially around the holidays coming up, right? And using this information to get more people for the holidays. So let's talk about how to properly target someone or re-engage with someone that might have been a gift buyer. Let's say I went to your website. You sell some cool stuff like plushies or something, and I only came last year because I wanted to buy my wife a cute little plushie. And I don't care about plushies. I don't want to buy plushies as a gift for any friends or family. How can you possibly re-engage me if I haven't been around for a while? Now I know maybe you've been sending me some emails, right? Because we should be doing that. You don't want to wait a year to email someone again. But what would be some possible opportunities for people who've bought gifts in the past?
Okay, so there's some data that you can use to target that. Let's kind of see what we can suss out. First and foremost, find the group of people that their shipping address and their billing address are not the same. Those are people that have shipped something someplace else. Let's assume those are gifts. Target those. Send them a gift giving style email that promotes gifts. Um, there's also a really great tool because, like, if you're buying for your wife, I'm assuming y'all live in the same place. So your billing and shipping address are probably the same. So I would have missed you in my start with that group. I think that's an easy, like, that's the low hanging fruit.
Right.
Different addresses, target them with a gift message. For to try to suss out you buying something for your wife, one of the things is if I've been watching the engagement over time, I'm going to send you several emails right after the holidays. If I'm in a gifty business, I'm probably going to start slacking off on those because I know that there are going to be key dates. So you'll probably have gotten something from me around Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and Father's Day and Flag Day and whatever other day I send emails on because I'm a gifty type business. But I would have slacked off a little bit more on the in between days. Um, and then come closer to the holidays, I'm going to start picking those back up. But one of the other things that I really love to do is actually an anniversary email. Hey, it's been a year since your first purchase. Thank you so much for being a customer with us. Is it time to start looking at all the new stuff we have? That kind of a thing. That's a great way to sort of remind people, hey, this was a successful thing you did last year. Maybe you want to do it again. Do it in, I go back to do it in a non-creepy way. Get a good copywriter to do that. I do not profess to be a copywriter. Um, and then also remember there is so much going out over the holidays.
Hmm.
This is a great time to go dig deep into your list because you do have people that only buy at the holiday time or they only engage or they're looking at stuff at the holidays. Um, it's a great time to try to do that. Just don't overdo it. And I will tell you, any test that you do in the holidays, do it again in the spring because it may not be valid results because you got a different audience pool. Um, but I like those techniques to go after buyers. Um, I also am a big believer in a 13-month rolling list. Look
Mm.
back at who was engaging and buying 13 months ago. And especially if they haven't engaged with your email in a period of time, but they bought 13 months ago. That'll catch your holiday buyers. And if you did progressive profiling, like I told you, you might know Hank's anniversary and his wife's birthday and some other key dates that are important to Hank to then continue the conversation.
If you haven't noticed, I'm trying to stump you here. If this is a quiz, you're at 100%, and I give you extra credit, so you're at 105%, as my daughter would always say. She's always upset when because almost all of her tests and quizzes in school, I'll give extra credit. She's upset if she gets 100. But what would be something that I could stump you with? Because I haven't stumped you yet. What would be a hard question to ask you that might be a challenge for you to answer, or is there not any that I can ask you?
Oh, it's not that I'm not stumpable. I am stumpable. Um, I'm trying to think about some of the more recent questions I've had clients ask me that I've had to either take a step back and go, huh, how would I do that?
Hmm.
Um, most of them are around that concept of can we acquire more names in email? Um, like, how can we do that? How can we get around rules? That's always a great question that people ask
Right.
me. And I'm like, I'm not helping you do that. Um, but I've also had it's on the retention side. Like how do we prevent somebody from falling off our list? And then what do we do with them when they come back? And I've got theories and thoughts and ideas and programs I've put into place, but it's a it depends question because when we get them back, it's almost like, well, how did we get them back and how could we treat them differently?
Yeah. In other words, I think a lot of mistakes people make is sometimes it triggers that same welcome message that they got when they first signed up, right? It should be like a re-welcome, like welcome back rather than welcome. It's a good one.
So those are like it's really the specifics, like the generic questions, the general questions where it covers a bunch of clients. Those I've been around for a dog's age. So um I I I don't think I stump easy on those, but when I get down into a client's program and they're like, "Oh, well, we're a subscription-based program and we want to increase subscriptions." Great, but you offer 15% off on your subscriptions and every month you do a 30% deal. Um, how do I message that you're getting the best price, but you're not? Like those are the ones that I'm like, um, is there a way that you could change your subscription program that if they ship within the window, they'd get the best price? Like, could we do that? Apparently that's harder than I think it should be.
Yeah, that's more of a promotional slash, incentive foul up than it is using email marketing, right? It's like they need to figure their strategy, pricing strategy out before. And it's like I always mention too, don't offer the same, like if you're wanting to grow your newsletter list, is what I say, and you're doing the same exact promotion on every channel at the same time, why would somebody want to open an email? In other words, I would always say we always offer discounts, new product information, et cetera, through email first. This way, people are more incentivized to look for and open that email if you're looking to get that, because more and more people are starting to use social more. Not saying they don't use email, but they're just not there as frequently. And more importantly, going back to the beginning of the conversation, did it make it to the inbox?
Right. And that is so critical is if people are looking for it because there's something that's unique and special in their email program, that will help you get into the inbox to the people that are less engaged. And that's key and important.
Right.
I
And yeah.
cannot overemphasize the need for good, relevant content in your emails. You can segment all day long. You can target, you can hyper target, you can personalize up one side and down the other. And if a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, did it actually make a sound? I mean, that's the reality of it. Um,
Right.
I could have the best contact strategy. I could have the best. And if it's not getting into the inbox, I've wasted every hour building that strategy.
That's right.
So, and they have to go together because good contact strategy does help your deliverability. But at the end of the day, content still reigns, and you have to have something people want.
Yeah.
Um, I'm old enough and I've been around the email world long enough that I remember the days where we would go into clients and companies and say, you need to have an email program because everybody has an email program. And now everybody has an email program and they're still wondering why they have one. And what do we do with it? And what should we say with it? As opposed to being a lot more mindful. And I think it's also cost that helps that. But we're a lot more mindful with our SMS programs. We spend a lot more time saying, why? Why do you want to send somebody a text? And to send a text just to send a text is pointless.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think there's a lot more thought ahead of time instead of just pushing the send button. And, I don't want email to ever become expensive, but if it was expensive, I think people would think about it more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because it gets scrutinized more, and you have to get more out of it. Where right now everybody thinks it's the easy button, which
Right.
we've discussed on this episode. It's not. It can't. Well, it can be, but then the results are going to be on par with easy. But if you go in and do some, not I'm not going to say hard, and some better stuff, then the results will be better. And if you report to someone, those numbers look better, makes you look good, and hopefully, that helps the company grow. You keep a job, maybe get a raise.
Well, and you can become a hero if
Yeah.
you're really good and you're thoughtful and mindful about it. That's when you become a hero at this game.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I mean, I have this theory that people think email is easy because every person with an email address has sent an email before. Like I've gone into Gmail and I've sent an email, so therefore I know email. And there's so many nuances to it. It is not hard. It is not difficult, but it's also not easy. Um, and I think there's a real big nuance to the fact that it's not easy, that you have to have some knowledge of the way the system works and what moves people and motivates people. Um, and finding and going all the way back to our segmentation, finding people where they are. Are they new to your file? Are they brand spanking new to your product? You want to tell them different things than if they've been around and they're three-time buyers and they buy every 45 days without fail. You want to talk to those people differently.
Right.
Top tip, you also want to offer them differently too. Um, and that's where really good segmentation joins really good personalization. And spoilers, personalization isn't, hi, Tricia. It's not. It's anticipating my needs. It's being ahead of where I am so that the message comes in just as I'm sitting there going, I'm almost out of coffee. It's time for the place I buy my coffee from. And they send me the email that says, hey, guess what? It's time.
Sounds like there's a part two in the works, because I think we did a great job of inspiring, educating, and informing people of how to use their data better, get more out of their email marketing lists. But with that, we're going to wrap up the show. First and foremost, I want to mention that Kickbox is a supporter of the show. We do email validation. You can use code HMBT to get 5,000 free credits. You only get 100 if you sign up normally on the website. So that's my personalized offer to you is 5,000 free credits. But Tricia, how can people find you and learn more from you?
Sure thing. You can always reach out to me. I'm available through Shaw Scott, but you can reach out to me directly at T Babishkin, and you will probably have to spell that out at shawscott.com. But you can reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm sure in all of your show notes we'll have all my contact details. We do offer, and I will extend this to your listeners, we offer an hour of free strategic consulting. Come in, sit, pick my brain for an hour, and we will talk and chat. So that would be great. Just send me a note and we'll set up a time to chat.
All the things will be in the show notes. Until then, use better data.